Wow, I think you've somehow made the camera even closer than last week. Wait, I feel like I'm getting upstaged by a mouse. Sorry. Hi everyone, it's Jenny. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to do my May TBR video. Straight up, this is a really tentative TBR because I always pick far too many books. And especially with Women's Prize at the moment, I want to read a lot of those. I want to read some with the books that were longlisted because even though they weren't shortlisted, they sound really interesting to me. And my birthday's coming up, so I know I'm going to buy loads of books, and then that'll change my TBR even more. And then I have my own reading goals. Like, I have a bookcase at the end of my bedroom. I'm trying to read pretty much the whole bookcase this year, or as many as I can, so I'm picking a shelf each month, so I've got all the books from that shelf that I haven't read. I'm trying to read all of my Penguin Mini Modern because I bought all 50 of them last year, got way too excited and I only read like 15 last year. I really didn't read many of them, so I felt like I couldn't justify having bought all of them, so I made it a project to try and read all of them this year. So I'm picking 3 or 4 each month to read, and they're really easy and quick to read. But it's still 4 of the books on my TBR. And I also have a lot of audiobooks that I listen to that I don't tend to put my TBR, so who knows? Who knows what I'm going to have read by the end of this month. I'm currently reading Ordinary People by Diana Evans. This looks at 2 different marriages and the intricacies and complexities of them struggling and potentially breaking down. I don't know. I haven't got that far yet, but I'm really enjoying it. It's very claustrophobic writing, it's very detailed. If you like character-driven plots, this is definitely one for you. If you like plot, then don't read this book. Well, I think I said character-driven plot. You know what I mean. But I've got a train ride up to London tomorrow, so hopefully I can finish it on there. Then we have another one from the shortlist that I've not read, which is Cersei by Madeline Miller. All I know about this is that it's like a feminist retelling of the Odyssey, because Cersei is like a witch goddess, which sounds amazing, who's a smaller character in the Odyssey, and she's kind of taking the helm of the story, which I'm fully on board with. I think that there's been a real trend of myth retellings lately, and I've only read 2. I've just read Some of Achilles last month by her and I enjoyed it, but I'm more excited to get to a female narrative, or at least a female protagonist who's narrating the narrative. Wow, that wasn't intelligent. But there you go. Also, this has the most beautiful naked hardback. Wait, let me show you. Also, end papers and wait. Ta-da! I love it. It's so gorgeous because I always read hardbacks without their covers as well, so I'm still going to get the full beauty of it when I'm reading it. I'm so excited. Then we have another myth retelling. I've got to say, I'm really surprised that there are 2 myth retellings on the shortlist, but hey ho, I conveniently own this as well, so I'm not complaining from that point of view. And it's The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker, which I've been meaning to read for a while. I also love this cover, and I think that this is like a feminist retelling of the Iliad, so I think it focuses on, wait, what is her name? Should look this up. Not that I'll be able to pronounce it properly. Briseis? Look, classical scholars, don't at me. I don't know, but I'm excited for more feminist retelling, although I have seen some reviews recently that say it's not all from her perspective, and some of it's from Achilles' perspective, and that's a bit disappointing. But at least I know that going in, so I've got the right expectation that it isn't all women telling the story. Then I have a book that was longlisted for the Women's Prize, which is Swan Song by Kelly Greenberg Jeffcott. Her, yes. So I'm not going to prioritise reading this book, but I think if I don't read it this month or pretty soon, I'll lose all motivation to do so. And I'll be honest, I bought this because it was half price in the January sale and because Eric said it was good, so there you go. I don't actually know that much about it, apart from it's about the high socialite women who were friends with Truman Capote and who were outraged when he wrote about them and their secrets to the, like, revealed their secrets to the world. So I've never read Truman Capote, and I do worry that I might not fully appreciate this novel because I don't have all the context of his writing, but I'm interested. It's pretty. I'll read it. Maybe not this month. Maybe. Who knows? Then I have a book that I really should have already read because it was the Feminist Orchestra Book Club's choice for March and April, but I'm going to roll it over to this month because their pick for May and June I've already read. So it's Dead Girls by Alice Boland, which is an essay collection. I think it examines how women in the media who are victims of murder or rape, how their bodies just become an object that furthers a man's story, like who are normally the perpetrators of these crimes. But the only thing is, I've heard not great things from Lauren and Jean, who both run the book club. I'll link it down below if you want to have a look, because most of the picks are normally great. But I have kind of lost motivation to read this, but it's short and I bought it, so I might as well. I also just don't read enough non-fiction. I'm really interested in a lot of it and I keep buying it, but I read it a lot less often than I do fiction. I'm determined to read it this month. Yes, it's gonna happen. Then moving on to another non-fiction book. It is written in history by, oh wait, this is gonna go wrong. Simon Sebag Montefiore. Look, I'm sorry Simon. Maybe it's Simon. Who knows? Not me, obviously. But this is a book, obviously, I mean, you know, it's pretty much in the title. Written in history, letters that change the world. So the book is separated into sections which have a kind of type of letter, I suppose, or a subject in the letters. So obviously the first section is love, there's a section on family, on war, on liberation, all kinds. I love that there is a section on decency. Can't wait to read that section. Actually, I think one of the letters in there is from Gandhi to Hitler, so that'll be interesting. But it's through all of history, and also it seems quite universal, as in it's not just Western white old men writing to other Western white old men, so that's good. Seems quite, what is the word? Diverse! There we go, got there in the end. Oh guys, I have such a struggle today. I know it's really old school, but I still write letters to some of my family and some friends. I really enjoy it. I don't do it often enough, but it's really satisfying, so I'm genuinely interested in letters. I think there's something really intimate and personal and revealing about letters. I did a whole project in my third year about love and epistolary form, so I'm super pumped for this. Plus it's short, and also if I don't finish it, I don't think it matters. It's the kind of book that I'm sure I could just read a section and then put it down and then pick it up again. It doesn't matter. Now I'm moving on to the books from the shelf in that end bookcase that I'm trying to read all of, and that bookcase is organised by colour. This shelf is the black/dark brown shelf, so get ready. So first up we have Schindlers Ark by Thomas, is it Keneally or Keneally? Maybe both are wrong. But this is a book that I bought in Freshers Week of my first year, and I still haven't read it. There was a book sale at the SU, I bought 3 books. Have I read any of them? No. So hopefully this will be the first of the 3. I'm sure you all know what this is about, but if you don't, it's about Oskar Schindler, who was a German businessman who saved a lot of Jews by creating businesses that he could employ them in. Fun fact, I am weirdly fascinated with the Holocaust, and Schindler's List even, is one of my favourite films, but I have no idea what this is going to be like as a reading experience. I'm sure it'll be quite harrowing, but ultimately I hope uplifting in some ways, so this will be an interesting one to get to, and another one of my Man Booker list, because I've got so many books that have won Man Booker, been shortlisted for Man Booker, that I still haven't read. I'm the worst for buying prize-winning books and not reading them. So this will be nice to read, finally, over 5 years after having bought it. Then I have The Last Tudor by Finical Gregory, which I found out after buying it is part of a series. Have I read the rest of the series? Not a single one. So I'm hoping that these can be read as standalones, because that's what I'm going to do. I mean, look, this was $3.99 in Sainsbury's. I'm just the most basic bitch. I was like, well, I'll get that. That sounds fun. Because I love the Tudor period. It's probably my next most interesting historical period to me from the Victorian. Well, actually, I do like 20th century world wars and stuff, but I don't read enough Tudor fiction. And I used to read a lot when I was young, so this was quite nice to get to. It's about the Grey sisters, so Jane Grey, who was queen for I think 9 days, I want to say. But I think it's also about their sisters Catherine and Mary. Wow, there's too many Marys. What is it with the Tudors all having the same name? Like, if you read Walpole, there are so many Thomases. You just really need that name key at the beginning. Anyway, sorry, tangent. This would be interesting because I didn't know Jane had sisters, and I think it's about how they lived and defied Queen Elizabeth and Queen Mary. Who knows if they die, probably. Let's be honest, Tudor's a crazy man. But I think this will be a fun read. I mean, it's decently long. I think I might listen to this one on an audiobook. Then I have a Booker shortlisted book, which is The Lighthouse by Alison Moore. I think this was shortlisted in 2012, I want to say, and I bought the whole set of them. I didn't read them, so this will be nice to read. I don't actually know much about it. The protagonist is called Futh, and I think that's such a great name. I think it's German, or at least he's going to Germany. So I think it's one of those novels where it's about finding yourself and possibly depression, and it's just going to be very character driven. But it's short. Want to get to this, she says, and many other books she's got on a TBR. Then we have a book that is really beloved by Booktube that I just don't know why I haven't read yet, and that is The Tyrosine by Sarah Moss. I bought this New Year's Day, 2017. I've owned this for so long and I still haven't read it, and I'm ashamed. But I read Ghostwall, which is the first book I've read by Sarah Moss recently, which, can I just say, why has that not been shortlisted? Like, I'm so mad about it. You don't even understand. Like, I liked My Sister the Serial Killer, but that was just not that good. Just Ghostwall has been robbed. That's what I'm gonna say. Sorry. Anyway, this is about a girl called Miriam whose heart inexplicably stopped, and I think it's from the perspective of her father, or at least it definitely deals with his anxiety about how to deal with something like that happening, and what do you do when you can't stop that occurring again, and how do you deal with that worry in your everyday life. I saw this book in so many people's best books of the year, can't remember when, probably 2016. There were just so many people that loved this book, so I can't wait for this, especially after having read Ghostwall. I know how good a writer she is. So if I don't get to this one this month, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Then we have Girl with a Pearl Earring by Tracy Chevalier. You can't really see the title, it's like indented into the painting. But this is a book that I bought last year for my birthday book haul, and I still haven't read it, so I would like to get this one this month because I've only owned it for a year and I think that's not too bad. I bought it on a whim really. I just found it in the bookshop and wasn't planning on buying it, but started reading it and really liked the writing. Then we have a book which probably has the longest title of any book that I own, and that is The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared by Jonasson, I want to say. And this is translated from the Swedish. I read quite recently The Girl Who Saved the King of Sweden, which is his, I think, second novel, because everyone told me that this is his best and this is the funniest book, so I thought best to read this one next because then it won't be so much of a come down. This is just a crazy adventure story about a man who turns 100 and on his 100th birthday escapes his nursing home and 100th birthday party, and all sorts of craziness ensues. A lot of people have read and loved this, so I hope I find it as entertaining as everyone else. Then we have another non-fiction book. I know, I'm surprised too, but I'm really, really excited for this one, and it's British, On Race, Identity and Belonging by Afua Hirsch. This follows a similar vein, I think, to Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race, which I read last year and absolutely loved. I think it's going to look at a warped sense of history and the contradictions within it, that idea that we celebrate how we were abolitionists and we abolished slavery before America, but actually slavery was so ingrained in our society and our economic structure for centuries, and that we don't fully acknowledge our past and our present and the problems that have created the systemic racism that is alive today. I think it will be quite a powerful and thought-provoking read, and again, not too long, so I really hope to get to this one. Then I quickly got my 4 mini modern Penguin edition, so that first one I wanted to try and get to is The Black Book by Ralph Ellison. This is, I think, some short stories, and it looks at racial injustice and violence against black people, but in apparently quite a lyrical style, so this sounds interesting to me. He's an author I've not read before. I really like these because it's a great way to find new authors that you think you might like. Then I have Susan Sontag's Notes on Camp. I think this is just 2 essays that were quite explosive at the time they were published, that examine low and high culture and that idea of the divide between them. I don't know much about Susan Sontag, but she's quite revered. I think she's an author you either really love or you just don't appreciate. But I think this is a really good place to start. Then I have Truman Capote's The Duke in His Domain. This is a journalistic profile Capote wrote about Marlon Brando when he was in Japan filming. Again, I'd never read anything by Capote before, but because I wanted to read Swansong, this seems quite appropriate. So maybe I won't get to Swansong, but at least I can have a small introduction to Capote's work. Then I have one I'm really excited about, which is James Baldwin's Dark Days. This was highly recommended by Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts, and it's just essays on racial injustice and the black experience. In February I read my first James Baldwin novel, which was If Beale Street Could Talk, and I absolutely loved it. His writing style is so readable but eloquent and poetic and human and real and visceral. So I have incredibly high hopes for this. And it'll be good to read some of his non-fiction because he wrote quite a lot of essay collections. Then we have a book that I am so excited to read, and I had to wait a while till it came into the library because so many people have put reservations on this. It's such an anticipated read. That is Spring by Ali Smith. I love her season quartet, or at least what has come out so far. And actually, thinking about it, those are the only two books I've read by Ali Smith. I should really check out her backlist more. But this is a book that I think is riffing on Pericles. So I might possibly read that, let's be honest, probably not. I've got a million books in this TBR. The blurb doesn't give much clue to what this book is actually about, but obviously it will be similar to Autumn and Winter in that it will be very politically focused, I'm sure, and be grounded in the recent events of the world. But it sounds like this will be a more hopeful book, which makes sense with the season. Then I'm ending with some PhD books because I just felt like I should try and keep myself more accountable. And if in my wrap up I haven't read these, you need to say, Jenny, what have you been doing? You shouldn't have read the other books over these ones. So the first one is The Netherworld by George Gissing. Because I just need to read this. It was recommended to me by Katie from Books and Things. I read the first 60 pages and there were already things about alcohol and pubs in it, so I know this will be useful for my PhD, but I also know it'll be miserable because it's Gissing. But the writing actually seems good. So I'm excited. It's only 400 pages, which, you know, for a Victorian novel, that's amazing. That's like half the length of Dickens, so I'm on board with that. I don't know too much about this except that it begins with a mysterious man searching for one of the protagonists, Jane Snowdon, and there's a potential fortune there, I think, but let's be honest, it's Gissing, it's probably all going to end up horribly wrong. And I think also it's about Jane's relationship with Sydney and whether or not that romance works out, but it will definitely focus on the harsh reality of being impoverished and living under economic struggle and struggling for work. All the struggle. Gissing is like hashtag struggle. but I'm still excited, don't get me wrong. It'll be gloomy, but I'm excited. I quite like melancholy things. I mean, I want to read Schindlers Ark, so there you go. And then I have another non-fiction book, but I'm not so surprised because, you know, this is my PhD, and that is Victorian Pubs, this is heavy, by Mark Girard. That wasn't too bad pronunciation, she says, not knowing French. But this, obviously what it says in the tin, it's about Victorian pubs, but I think it focuses in London, which is good for my current chapter that I want to write. I am currently on page 6. I've been on page 6 for a while, so I need to read this month, because if I haven't, I don't know what I'll do, and I'll never stop writing, and then I'll just fail miserably. But I won't, because I'm going to read it. It's going to be fine. Yes, and in my wrap up, when I say I read this, you can all be like, well done for actually doing your work. Thank you for watching this wildly ambitious TBR. I know it was a long one, and I stumbled over my words, and I'm sorry this was such a mess of a video, but hopefully, you know, next time I'll have my shit together a bit more and be able to actually talk properly. But, you know, don't hold your hopes up too much there. Alright, so let me know what you want to read this month. I would like to know, especially if you are reading Women's Prize books, and have you read any of these yet? Do you love them? If you hate them, don't tell me. Don't underhype me. I want to have a good time reading these books. Anyway, I will see you soon for more bookish shenanigans. Bye!